memory to do that. And I think I'm at about 20% of what I try to remember actually makes it to. So for your sake and for everyone else's sake, you can mention it to me. And I will say, please email it to Mrs. Diaz. All right? And so the email address for prayer requests is Landmark Baptist Church, all lowercase, at Comcast.net. All right? So we'll get that on the prayer bulletin, and we'll get that on. I think that's the best way. Mrs. D is going to check that email every week. If you want it on the prayer sheet, put it on the email to guarantee, and in the subject, put prayer requests, okay? She'll look for the prayer requests. She'll put them on the bulletin. That's a better system than pastor can remember, sure, and I end up forgetting. So if you would help us with that, and that'd be our plan moving forward. Okay, prayer requests. Just continuing to pray. Mrs. George, do you have any updates for your family members that we're praying for, your sister and such? Okay. 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 So for those online, praying for Nora, Linda George's sister. She's been somewhat stable here, and they're putting in a tracheotomy on Friday. So we want to pray with her for her. All right. Other prayer requests that we have. Scott. Okay. Did that happen today?
Yeah, school shooting. My sister's kids were in lockdown after school.
Uh-huh.
Their school wasn't actually the one the shooting was.
Sure. I hadn't heard about that, but yeah.
At least one kid was shot and killed.
Okay.
I pray for that. And then my brother Sam, his best friend was in Wisconsin. Mark, his son was out in Arizona. His son passed away last night.
Okay.
Mid-20s.
It was one of these, okay? It was one of these genuine Mexican cockroaches, and it was in my mouth. It literally woke me up, and I sleep hard. You got to do a lot to wake me up. And I spit it out, poof, and I stomped on it there in the middle of the night. And you say, Pastor, what did you do? I rolled over and went back to sleep because that's all I could do at the time. But that was an interesting way to wake up. That's one of the more memorable ways that I have woken up. Would we all agree that one varmint, whether it be a bug or a mouse, one varmint in a bowl of food ruins the whole thing? Would we all agree? Okay, I know some of us are rednecks. We don't care. Just build the immunity. But in general terms, I hope we could all agree that one bug in the plate would ruin, especially if it's soup or something like that. The passage we're going to read tonight in Ecclesiastes 10 examines the issue of foolishness or folly. And this is obviously foolishness or folly is in contrast to the theme of Proverbs, which is wisdom. And let's remember what Proverbs says: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So if you want to be wise, fear God and know him. You want to be a fool, reject God. The fool has said in his heart, no God, or there is no God, it says. So wisdom is not related to your IQ. It's not related to your giftedness or lack thereof. It's not related to your age or lack or experience level. Wisdom, godly wisdom, is relatable to your love for God. So you can have a low IQ, but you can have a high level of wisdom. You can be young and have a high level of wisdom because it's not related to a talent, it's related to our relationship with God. And so as we walk with God, we become wise. As we reject God, we become foolish. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 is the portrait of the fool, or the portrait of folly. Verse 1 gives us the stink of folly. Yes, the stink. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to stinking savor. So doth a folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. Back to the illustration of the fly in the soup. Let's take it another level if we're talking about gross things. Do you know that anything that dies stinks? Our cat Cheddar brought a for our porch. My wonderful wife said, "Oh, can you get rid of that mouse?" I said, "Sure, I'll get it in a minute." But it wasn't a minute. I'm not worried about a dead mouse on the porch necessarily. I let it go all afternoon. Then I came back in the evening, and guess what? The whole way of the house smelled. So I did what every good father would do. Luke, go get the shovel. The point of Ecclesiastes 10:1 is all it takes is a little bit of folly to ruin a person's reputation. All it takes is a little bit of folly to ruin someone's reputation. The Ecclesiastes 7, verse 1, you don't need to turn, but I'll read it for you. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death and the days of one's birth. So it compares a good name, a good reputation, as ointment or something that is of a good smell, but yet a little bit of folly, it says in chapter 10. So a little bit of folly, him that is reputation for wisdom and honor. Let me ask you a question. When you think of the following people, what comes to your mind? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was he the 40th president? Somewhere in there. Some would say he was successful in things like the economy as a president. He was perceived to be somebody who could go across the aisle and make, of course, we didn't agree with him on a whole lot of things, but he is a president. He, at one point, paid $25 million, $25,000. I don't want to overstep that one. But he was just to speak, just to show up at a graduation, just to show up somewhere and speak for a half hour. Large sums of money. Yet when I say the name Bill Clinton, we all think of scandal, right? How many of you, that was the first thing that came to your mind? Okay, in spite of all the accomplishments. Maybe this won't be as drastic, but David in the Bible, he was a man after God's own heart, the greatest king, yet we associate him with what? Bathsheba. Pops right in our mind. One night, one mistake, one sin. Peter. Denied the Lord 3 times. And obviously God used him. There's a whole lot Peter did for the cause of Christ. But often we remember that one thing. I think that says a lot about our human nature. But it also illustrates Ecclesiastes 10:1. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor. So a little folly him that is reputation for wisdom and honor. The point would be, Keep the fly of folly away from your life. Don't dabble in sin. Don't dabble in folly. Don't excuse it away. Deal with every aspect of our life and allow our reputation or our name to bring forth a sweet ointment or precious ointment for the Lord, and stay away from the stink of folly. Verse 2, the source of folly. The source of folly, verse 2. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. What does this mean? A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart is at his left.